Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Apologize for that crazy intro, but I wanted to give a vibe for how I feel about this watch that I've got in front of you here. This is the Omega 166.0216. This is a Seamaster from the late 70s, early 80s. It's a really cool watch. Very tacky though. Very blingy, over the top, ridiculous, but so very cool. So let me tell you about it. This is the first vintage watch that I've ever purchased. When I saw this is basically new old stock. I mean, it's in absolutely immaculate condition. The everything's original, from the finish work to that acrylic crystal to the signed crown, the bracelet and clasp. I mean, it's just incredible condition, and it comes with a very nice integrated bracelet, tank tread-like links, super smooth and silky on wrist. And this is a little bit larger, coming in at 35 millimeters in diameter. So it's a little bit larger. It wears very well. It's very similar in size to my Grand Seiko, which I just think is just about the perfect watch. So that's what I have. Let me share with you my thoughts on this really tacky, seriously cool vintage Omega Seamaster that is gold plated. I'm going to throw on some specs on the side of the screen here so you can see the size, the lug to lug, how much the bracelet tapers, and just how thin this really cool watch is, coming in at 11 millimeters, counting that domed acrylic crystal, which I just think is so dynamic and so stinking cool. So anyways, the movement in here, it's fair. I'm kind of in two minds about it. It's Omega's caliber 1022. It's the second generation of their 1020 caliber, which was a 17 jewel day-date complication, 28,800 BPH movement, which was the first day-date complication that had the quick set changeover feature. So, I mean, a decade before Rolex did the quick set day-date, Omega was doing it in their Cal 1020. So this is the Cal 1022. It's got a few more jewels. It is the copper color finish. You know, mine's running at plus 4 seconds a day. I have no idea when this thing was serviced, but it's running so strongly and so accurately. I think that this has probably just been sitting in a drawer or in a box or in a safe for a lot of years, because just how beautiful the condition is, how original it is, and how that movement is just running so flawlessly. Now let's take a look at that dial. This thing is probably my favorite part about the watch. You have the radial sunburst dial, gold tone, beautiful baton indices with tritium dots on the outer end of each one of those baton markers. Perfect execution. Then you've got a 60-minute track going around the outside where the chapter ring would be. So it's very simple, it's very clean, and I just think it looks beautiful. You do have an applied logo up there just under the 12 o'clock position. All the printing is super crisp, Seamaster automatic, and your day-date wheel is actually framed there. So if you take a look at the side profile, you'll notice that the dial is actually very slightly domed or concave at the outer edge, and it really plays with that acrylic crystal that just makes it so cool to look at from various angles. I really think that this is so sharp. And then when you take into account the integrated lugs, that beautiful tank bracelet that just is so silky smooth with those very short links, this is just a really cool looking watch. Now, I mean, I've talked it up, I'll admit. I'm a little crazy about this watch. I think it is so cool. What are the downfalls? Well, first off, I mean, this is from an era where Omega was kind of in their dark days, where they, in my opinion, and in the opinion of some other watch enthusiasts, they kind of had lost their way. It was the height of the quartz crisis. Swiss sales were plummeting. They had to find a way to be innovative and to bring their price points down. And unfortunately, that comes at a cost. So instead of this being actual precious metal yellow gold, this is a plated gold. So it's fake, right? It's not actual precious metal. I mean, it looks just like gold, but it's plated. Now, if you look at a Datejust from the same era, from the early 1980s, anything that's yellow tone is actually going to be yellow gold. The other thing is, Omega started, I guess you could say, skimping on the movements. They weren't quite at the highest quality as in previous years. And this is not an actual certified chronometer, which they used to do with the Seamaster. So they would cut corners in areas. That's not to say that this is a cheap watch, because this is actually a very well put together watch. This cost 380 Swiss francs back in the late 70s and early 80s. So it wasn't cheap by any means, but it wasn't so far out of reach from the general populace, if that makes sense. The other thing, and this is probably the biggest no-no and the thing that drives me crazy, is if you look at the branding, this is not a Constellation, this is not anything from their dress line, this is a Seamaster. Why in the world would you take a Seamaster, which was your greatest tool watch or your tool model historically, and basically make a dress watch out of it that has 0 water resistance? I mean, Omega says it has 30 meters, but you have a push-pull crown. You don't have a screw-in bracelet or a case back. That thing is just popped in there with friction. You should not use this in water. And why would you, right? It doesn't have a timing bezel. This is in no way a dive watch, but it has the dive watch branding of the Seamaster. So if you look at this as a whole, it's not precious metal. It's an era where the movement was questionable, not a chronometer. And it's carrying the Seamaster branding with 0 water resistance. I mean, everything about this says that's kind of ridiculous, right? So that's the hate of the watch. That is the downfalls. And that's my biggest beef with this is Seamaster branding, no water resistance, and it's not actual precious metal. I couldn't afford it if it really was precious metal, but I mean, it would be cool if it really was yellow gold. Now, that's not to say it's not cool, because when you look at this watch, it screams over the top. I mean, it's so cool. It's so 80s. I really dig it. I really do. I saw this. I showed it to my wife. I showed it to my good friend Rob. They were both like, "Don't do it. Walk away." And I couldn't. I had to pull the trigger, because I just, even though it's ridiculous, I'll give you that. It's totally ridiculous. It's one of the coolest watches that I've ever owned. I love it. Now let me give you a wrist shot. We have a friction style clasp, just like what Rolex was doing in the same era. And so you slide it on your wrist. Action is very crisp, very nice. And you can see it just looks so good on my 7.25 inch wrist. So I got kind of large wrists, and this thing just looks awesome. It doesn't look diminutive, and it just sits so nicely. And I love that bracelet. Those tank tread links, how thin they are, how smooth they are. And then that just dynamic, gorgeous dial that's just in perfect condition. I really couldn't be happier with how cool this watch is, how it looks on the wrist, how it looks with my yellow gold wedding band. I'm just floored. So let me show you the clasp here. You might have noticed it's actually engraved. This says Dr. W. Chai from HRH Ahmed, June 1981. So I looked into this and I talked to the seller. Apparently this was gifted to a doctor, Dr. Chai, from His Royal Highness Ahmed, who supposedly, I can't confirm, I have no documentation, but supposedly was a Saudi prince, Ahmed bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Sorry if I butchered that name. But was a Saudi prince who apparently gifted this watch to a doctor, and somehow it made its way to me. So it's kind of some cool history. I don't know if this was actually gifted by a Saudi prince. It could be that someone found new old stock Seamaster, thought that they would engrave the back to make a fun story that couldn't be authenticated. I mean, that's totally in the realm of possibility. But I kind of am leaning toward the fact that, yeah, I think this is authentic. Given the condition, how beautiful and original it is. This thing was taken care of very, very well. and probably was worn very sparingly over the years. Everything about it to me of the watch is original, and looking at the case back, it's got a little wear over it, so it wasn't a recent engraving or etching, and those marks are not, I mean, you can tell that they're authentic to the bracelet, so, or to the clasp. So I want to say that, yeah, this was actually engraved in 1981, which fits in line with the caliber that's in the watch, with what Omega was doing at the time. This thing was produced from 1976 to 1982. I think it's authentic. Again, I don't know. It could be false, but it's kind of some cool history or possible history that's attached to this really cool, really ridiculous Omega Seamaster. So last thing, let me show you the crown action here. You've got a very small signed crown. A little bit hard for my big, sausage fingers to get. But very nice action, very smooth. It surprised me, this being well over a 30-year-old watch, a 35-year-old watch, how smooth and nice that crown action is, how accurate the movement is, just the amazing condition. There are a couple marks on that acrylic crystal, and I don't know if I'm going to buff those out or just leave it in this original condition. I think I might just leave it for the time being because there are very few of them. I just think it's sweet. I really enjoyed wearing this watch. I mean, it looks awesome. It puts a smile on your face. Yeah, I know it's not real gold. I know it doesn't have it's not a true Seamaster. I know it doesn't have water resistance, but I can't help but to really enjoy wearing and looking at this watch. It feels perfect. It performs flawlessly, and it's just in such cool condition. I've really enjoyed this, and the possible chance that this was gifted by a Saudi prince to a Dr. Chai, I think that's kind of interesting too. So I'm going to, like I have in previous videos, if you're interested in this watch, you really want to buy it from me, shoot me an offer. I could be tempted to part with it because I'm trying to flip watches, get new content for the channel, but I really, really like this Omega Seamaster. So if you're interested in it, shoot me an email at watchbw@gmail.com. I'm looking for around $1,000 US. You won't find a better price on something that's this immaculate and this cool and original. So that's what I'm looking for. Let me know if you're interested. We can talk some price and shipping. Other than that, I've got more watch content coming. Be patient, guys. I'm gonna get to the Grand Seiko review. I've got to spend more time with it. I really want to do a good job. I want to do it justice. So stay tuned for that full review. And I've also got a new acquisition. This is a huge Jean Richard aquascope that is just seriously cool and seriously heavy on this bracelet. So stay tuned for a review of this. I've also got one more. I've got a Rado D-Star 200 ceramic blue, a beautiful watch on loan from a very generous friend. So stay tuned for reviews of more watches. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you're interested in this really cool gold Omega Seamaster from the 80s, let me know, and maybe we can make a deal. All right, thanks, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.